The results that you have in your life right now are a direct reflection of your levels of consistency. And if you don't like what you see, it's time to change where you're being consistent. And that's what I'm teaching you about today in this 5th micro habit of the world's most successful people that you can start immediately. You are already incredibly consistent. In fact, the whole world is incredibly consistent. It's just that the world's most successful people know how to be consistent in the things that matter, in the things that create the change and the reality they want to have. Everybody else is really good at being consistent in the things that don't move the needle, that don't make the difference that you want to see, and that actually keep them creating more of what they already have and more of what they say they don't want. Now listen, if you are somebody who has tried to make changes millions of times and always let yourself down, it's time to stop the judgment, because there is a reason for that. You see, you have a level of identity, right now, and that level of identity keeps you safe. So even when you're trying to think about things like losing a bit of weight or improving your relationship, changing jobs, it can elicit this fear response in our body, because our body is primarily wired to keep us safe and pain-free. So anytime something happens in our body and we start to imagine that there's going to be discomfort and pain, our body will try and stop us from doing that. So cut yourself some slack, take on these few tips that I'm going to give you that I know are going to help you make that change. So the first thing to realise is you're going to need to have courage. Before you can have consistency in the things that matter, you're going to need to have courage, because you're going to have to start challenging who you think you are and what you believe to be true. The first step about this courage is to embrace the fact that the consistency means you have to start thinking like this: I am the kind of person who. Consistency means stopping thinking about things as a to-do list. I will eat this way, I will work out this way, I will do this amount of work. And you step into the identity of, this is the kind of person that I am. That's a key difference to the people that can be consistent versus the people that are just doing these acts over and over again, waiting to get to a certain result. Because here's the thing, when people get to that result, if they haven't shifted their identity and they haven't become that person, they will go back to exactly where they started from. And here's the classic example of that. How many people do you know that have had really good weight loss journeys and put it all back on and more? Because they were consistent in action, they did the things, but they didn't see themselves as that person. So that's your first tip. You are going to become the kind of person who. Now, that leads me perfectly into step number 2. Start small. If you're the kind of person that works out every day, that means you can give yourself permission to do 5 minutes. 5 minutes of working out 5 times a week. You can build up. If you're the kind of person who really masters their nutrition, you can have a green smoothie every day, and that's the first step. If you're the kind of person who wants to build their 6-figure business, you can start by doing 1 planning day a month. You see, most people, because they're trying to get the result rather than become the person, they put too much on their plate at once. It's too much of a change. It creates too much pain, emotional and physical pain and discomfort, and they quit on themselves. So I want you to give yourself permission to start super small, because when you start small and you build up the consistency, you can develop the intensity as you go along. So there's a part 2 to that, and that is to get yourself an accountability chart. Whether you do it on a pen and paper, do it on your laptop, or download one of the amazing free ones you can get yourself an accountability chart, because your brain loves to see the ticks. It loves to see you completing tasks. So when you've got 2 or 3 tiny little things that you can do every day, and after a month you've got all these ticks on your chart, you can now get that feedback. Yes, I am the kind of person who is consistent. I am consistently taking action on the things that matter to me. And that starts to build up this identity of the new person that you are trying to become. Now, the third step is entirely optional. You see, sadly, most people aren't that accountable to themselves. They might not like letting themselves down, but it's not enough to motivate them to keep taking action when things get challenging. However, when you have publicly declared what it is that you're working on and how you're going to do that, it's a damn sight harder to feel like you're letting other people down, or you're going to get judged, or anything else might come back at you for not taking that action. Now, I'm not saying that this is a right or wrong. It works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. When you've declared yourself publicly, you're more likely to get support. You're more likely to be able to reach out and say, I'm really struggling today. Can somebody just kind of give me a pep talk? Can somebody lift me up today? And that level of support is huge, because so many of us try and go it alone. Now, I hope that has helped. Consistency is absolutely key. I'll be diving in with you on our final episode on the six micro success habits of the world's most successful people. So make sure you have subscribed and hit the bell down below so you get notified of the final episode coming out next week.